I was born in 1932, and that was a tough time for my mom and dad, not just because because I was born at that time, but it was the Depression time, and the economy was very poor. Yeah, then at 1940, of course, was then when the real hard times started, and of course we saw parachutes coming down and all the activities of war that overtook us, you know. And Holland is actually a very peaceful country, so that was a real shock. And I remember that at age 6, the worst problem being that there was less and less food all the time, you know. In the beginning, maybe foods that you could do without, you know, as long as you have potatoes and milk and vegetables, that's probably the main thing. But eventually, a potato was hard to come by. I had a sister and 2 brothers, and my 2 brothers were supposed to go to Germany to work in the munition factories, and they didn't do that. And if you didn't do that, you know, what would normally the procedure be? Like there would be a truck, and it would and generally people with guns and a machine gun at the corner of the streets, and then with the loudspeaker speaker, they would share that you know, that old men, normally between 20 and 40, that they would have to report and bring a blanket and some toiletries, and that's it within a few minutes. Fortunately, you know, my brothers were hiding. My dad was already getting a little older, so and the boys were right underneath the floor. And then when the soldier came in, he pointed the gun at the closed closet and different places, and then he would look for the reaction in my mother. But mothers are very special people. But when the chips are down, they come. They're all little heroes, and my mom certainly was. So he went on, and he didn't find anybody, and my brothers are still safe. But that. Because they had to hide most of the time, if there was any work to be done, trying to find some food here or there, it generally had to be me, because I was, but at 1945, I was only 13 years old, so, and so that was a tough time, but the good thing was that, you know, we survived the war, and myself, I was adopted by a family the last 6 months of the war. Some farmers' family through the church, they organized that you could actually be adopted by some people for a temporary that still had some food. And the way they did that, a doctor would come, and you all line up. And I was found it very embarrassing because I was a teenager, and you had to sort of lift your shirt, and if your stomach was sort of protruding, and I don't know how they thought, but then you go on that side and the others go on the other side. And then I was, you know, among a group of people that were picked. And so a week later I went on the train, and I was told where to stop, this station. Didn't know who the people were going to be. And I saw 2 people that were looking for me. And so I walked to them, and they said, "Well, I'm I'm Johnny." And they said, "Oh yeah, we're looking for you." And they turned out to be very nice people, and I believe they saved my life. And they were our liberators, and so that played a big role. So I decided that I needed to go, and my brother as well. So the 2 of us came to Canada, and now I have to tell you a real neat thing about us coming to Canada. I think we went by boat from Amsterdam, and the destination was Quebec City. For some reason, we were landing there. But on the ship, I spotted this very nice girl that always seemed to be laughing and be a very happy person. But I wanted to talk to her, but unfortunately, I was pretty seasick. And yeah, that's not conducive to romance, that is for sure, you know. Anyhow, I believe, God has these things planned. I really believe it was no coincidence, but we got into this train when we got to Quebec City. We all were taking, the Canadian government paid for that. We would go in a train to our destination. It, for both of us, was Vancouver. So, as I said in the train, she happens to be in the same wagon, and then I'm looking at this pretty girl that somehow really appealed to me. So we got talking, and she had a friend from that also immigrated from her town, and I was just my brother. And we did a lot of singing. We found a quiet car, but it wasn't not too many people. And I knew a lot of English songs here, the old songs like "Don't Fence Me In" and "Home with the Range," all these kind of songs. So we sang for hours and got talking about her family, my family. I mean, you have 5 days in a train, you can do a lot of talking. And now here's the thing: it could have been a disastrous end, because we came to Coquitlam, close to Vancouver, and the conductor comes and he says, "You have to get out here." Yeah, it was quite a shock, a young girl, and 4 o'clock in the morning, and she's standing at the station. Now what? Now the thing is, the train is taking off, and I'm never going to see this girl again. So this is disaster, And I've always been very proud of that. I said, "Well, what do you say we meet in Vancouver at the Vancouver Hotel on Saturday at 7:30? And the reason I said Vancouver Hotel, because in Holland, and as it is in here, there's the Dawson Hotel, it used to be the Fort Hotel, there's the Vancouver Hotel, and so forth. So I gambled that there would be a hotel named after Vancouver, And sure enough, that's what happened. And at 7:30, she comes around the corner, and I had to run a little bit and catch up with her, and we met, and that was fantastic, because we discovered a new country, Stanley Park and all these places, and walked for miles all over the place, and got to know each other, and really fell in love, And after a year, first her parents came, and then shortly after my parents came. They applied for it, and my sister and my other brother came as well. Now, that was interesting, because she had written that, of course, we were dating, and she kind of worried about this Mr. Wonderful. Is he the kind of a guy that I want as a son-in-law? And I imagine, and I certainly was nervous going to the railroad station, the CP railroad station, to meet him there. And a big man, and that turned out to be a very nice man. But when in the olden days, you had to ask permission if you wanted to get married, and we knew each other. We knew for sure we wanted to get married, And my father-in-law was reading the paper. He's sort of hiding behind the paper, and I thought, well, now or never. I'm going to have to ask the question. So I said, I called him Dad by that time also, and I said, "Dad, I'd like to talk to you." "Go ahead." So it didn't make it any easier for me, and I said, as you have noticed, I really love Teeny, that's her name, and we would like to get married. And there was a deathly silence, and I see the paper move just a little bit, so I knew there was some connection there. And anyhow, we did, make a long story short, I did get permission, and we had a wedding. None of us had any money, so it was a wedding. I think we had bologna sandwiches and so, but it was very wonderful. And went on our honeymoon, and it's been a life of adventure in many ways, that's for sure. Well, my father-in-law was in the trucking business, Teeny's dad, in Holland, and he managed to, get some of the money from the trucks that he sold in Holland. And he started a trucking business here in Dawson Creek on the Alaska Highway, actually during the days of the paving of the Alaska Highway. And so I came to visit him, and I literally fell in love with Dawson Creek. I had bought a building already, not for the Ark, but it was a piece of property close to our business. And it looked like the man approached me. He's from he had a honey plant there. And he was moving, he was retired and moving to the States. And he says, well, I will give you first chance if you're interested. This is for sale, And it really wasn't that good a deal, but I thought someday it could be handy to if we wanted to expand in the building supply business or roofing business, And but in the meantime, so I have this building already, so God let you make even dumb moves, and will use it to his advantage, My concern for youth, though, I found, I was in churches in Vancouver, of course, and then I moved here in the church, and churches I visited as well, and I found that it's frustrating. You had trouble keeping kids in church, and to reach kids that came as their parents are lucky if we could keep them as they grow up to go in church. But certainly reaching kids that were in church kids, it seemed to be that the church had a hard time reaching it, And so I felt there had to be something that we could do that would be an in-between, that would be a road towards going to church and ultimately getting to know Christ. I was dreaming about it, and yeah, this is what I've always loved about Tini. We always shared. She shared her dreams, and about it. And as it was at the time, there was also a need for a college career. There were at that time, a lot of young people between 20 and 30 started there, And so we were able to. To start a college career group, we used to call it, kind of an old-fashioned term, And we met at that time. I had a fairly big house, and we met there, and I started sharing that part of what I felt there was a need, and they were so excited about that. So they were my cheerleaders. They became my cheerleaders, And then later on, when I did get started, and they became the first staff. And it was just a metal shell. It was a building, no heat. And it was full of honey, but yeah, honey that seems to attract mice. So there were mice. If you couldn't make a move without stepping on a mouse, and dead mice too. It was quite not a very attractive place to work in. I'll have to say that. I got some advice from an engineer. That this is what we like to do, and had some sketches made. And he says, "Well, this is what you need to do in order to keep it safe and all this kind of thing." So we did that, and we built the addition, which is the concession, the meeting area there, and then of course the offices upstairs, bathrooms. There was no plumbing in it or any. This is all fine and dandy, but Einstein forgot one thing. When you build buildings and have ideas, it takes a building permit. There was one problem, I have to mention it because it's a little humorous. I didn't have enough bathrooms because the way they worked it out at the time, probably still, there's so many square feet holds one person. So it's a big building, so you could have 500-600 people in there. Well, there would never be 500-600 people in there, but you need to have enough bathrooms just in case they ever did. Now, I couldn't, there's no way I could build that many bathrooms. So I was sitting there with this person, Roger Venters was his name, and a nice man. And I said, well, that is a real problem. So maybe, and I got a little mad, actually lost my temper. I said, well, then I just have to build some so-and-so outhouses. And so, yeah, he said, you can do that. And I'm not kidding you. We opened the book, and there's the specified outhouses. So I got the plans, the specifications, still have them, of the outhouses. So we built the outhouses, and later on we decided, we better get rid of them because it was not a good place to have around down there, and not just for looks, but it was not a good thing with young people anyway. So, yeah, that was fun because they threw a match to it, and it's amazing how they made it burned pretty good. So that was the end of that. But yeah, we did get our building permit then, and we formed the Dawson Creek Youth Center Society. I forgot to mention it, but I actually had a heart attack 2 years before that, and So it was a little bit worrisome for my wife because I was recovering and doing quite well, but I had to take it easy. Having the time, when you have a heart attack, you can do a whole bunch of things, and and I had my wife was very good, you had to go walk, you got to get back to a normal life, and she encouraged me. Sometimes it was painful right after the surgery, but we did, and of course this gave me more time from the fellow that was probably averaging maybe more like 10, 11, 12 hours at times a day. All of a sudden, bingo, not that. So I'm at home with my wife, and so we talked a lot and we dreamed a lot. Quite a few years ago too, not maybe 20, 30 years ago or so, that I had this picture. It was like a dream. In fact, I think it was probably a dream, but it was at the cross, but there were no other people there. It was just me, and it was Jesus, and yeah, he said, I did this for you, and I realized that if I was the only person in the world, he would die that kind of a death for me, and of course it applies to everybody, not because I'm me, but just because he loves people enough to die for it. But see, as a little boy, I always thought, the cross, that was a wonderful thing, and there's all these, he's dying for all these Jews that were hanging him, and all these bad guys. But I'm a good guy, and to a certain extent that stuck with me for a while, Not that I had anything against the Jews, but I would never put Jesus on the cross. Where'd you get that idea, kind of thing, eh? But once I started to be mature and got understanding that, no, maybe I didn't drive the first nails, but I think, let me put it this way, if I had to write a book about my life, before I would let you or anybody read it, I would want to tear out some pages for sure. It's easy to say I love you, and love talked about is easy, but love in action is a different thing. And to love, it costs something, and it costs time and effort, and the idea was never to think the church failed. It didn't, but society failed, and so now we need to have a bridge. I always consider the ark a bridge to the church. Kids are going to quit going to the ark, and eventually that, we hope that the seeds have been planted. The ark has been fantastic because when you're a coach, you have a good relationship, and you can love kids unconditional, and there's opportunities. We can do business as usual if we want to reach this group of people and make a difference in our life for our kids, and the generations, and in my case, my grandchildren. Then we cannot do wishful thinking and pretend that everything is all right, because not everything is not all right. We got to recognize the tremendous change in society, and the opportunities to do harm to yourself that can last a lifetime are greater there than before, Is the ark the only thing? No, there's many ways to go to Rome. That's just one way, but I think it's a good way. Tini told me once she had a friend that she considered to be a good friend, very good friend, but she had a birthday party, and she, but she invited a whole bunch of friends, but she wasn't invited, and she remembered that. That hurt her, sort of thing. And so friendships are very important to kids. Friends let you down, So therefore, I always feel if we can share and introduce them to a friend to say, no matter what you have done, or no matter what you're going to do, I'll be with you, and I'll walk beside you, and I'll take your hand. Why I believe in the permanence of the ark is because I think sports are a real calling card for kids. And of course, not all kids are going sports, but then we have the Friday night, which is just a place to hang out and meet friends, a safe environment, you know. Instead of hanging out at a shopping mall, or it's in Edmonton or wherever, or here, wherever, you know, whatever your youth center is, you know, you want to create an environment that is positive, you know, and of course that takes people that are willing to invest their life. I have to be careful when I mention names, you know, but one person, because he was there in the beginning, like Brent Tower, you know, had just one of these kids that was a magnet to kids. You know, he was one of these guys, you know, that you know, what is Brent? You know, well, he had trouble going to the bathroom because I'd say, well, he's in the bathroom. If you can wait for a minute, he'll be right back, you know. But and God put a lot of people, you know, like yourself and many others in there that you that just had the heart for kids. That takes time, you know. But it takes less time when more people invest. The Ark, like the church, requires you know, lots of faithfulness and prayers and support. I stand in awe. I see staff coming after the hard day's work, and then you still have to go. Now, you know, it's nice when you sign up, but every Wednesday or every Friday or every Saturday, whatever day it is, you know, there's lots of things and lots of places to call. Life is getting busier. It's not getting lighter. And then when the going is tough, you have a tough night, you know, you have tough days at work. And sometimes you get a combination. You get a tough day at work, and then you get a tough day at the Ark. When you go home, you think, life stinks. don't feel very good. Everything you tried today didn't work out. But you just stick with it, and pretty soon it's a different story. The next day, maybe a total different story, you know. They're my heroes, beyond the question of a doubt. I think there's no greater way to grow in your faith than to go out and do some work. They say, you know, family that serves together stays together, and that's also there's the Ark family, you know, they serve together, and God blesses us. I'm getting home, but the torch has been passed on, and I see that the people that are involved now with the Ark, but I know their heart is there, and they're picking up the torch, so I have total peace with that.